Hello there. Watson here, back with another review talk about another game that I have 100% completed, which this time is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG that has been created by a new company called Sandfall and is published by Kepler. The game itself is, as I said, turn-based RPG. It's heavily inspired by big Japanese RPGs, so your Final Fantasies, your Personas, that sort of stuff. And you can very much see the influences within the game itself. So story-wise, absolutely fantastic, top-notch, can't fault it. It's very much a series of highs and lows as you go along. It's split up nicely into various different acts. It's paced really well. The characters are super well written. Like, every single character has their own sort of development arc. There's bits that you can learn about the characters if you dive a little bit deeper into various different areas and the bits of lore and stuff, and talk to them in the camp. And it's very obvious that there's a lot of attention to detail with the characters themselves, with there only being a small amount of characters. It helps that, like, because there is a small amount, that they didn't have to go overboard with developing all these various different characters. I won't go into too much detail about the story because it's one of those where really you need to experience it yourself. The story itself can be completed in about 20 hours, so it's not incredibly long like most JRPGs are. Gameplay wise, the turn-based action is really cool. It's more of a button press style, like sort of Paper Mario or Lost Odyssey, where you need to time button presses to do extra damage. And then there's like the shooting element as well, where you can go into free aim and aim at like weak spots on the monsters, where you can do more damage or stop them from using certain attacks. So that's kind of like Persona style. Each of the characters feels very different and unique in the way that they fight as well, rather than a lot of the time with like the older Final Fantasy games, like all of the characters end up feeling very similar to each other because they've all got magic, they've all got, like, other than their limit breaks, like there wasn't much difference between the characters in like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, whatever you. Whereas Clair Obscur makes each character feel unique. One of the characters is incredibly overpowered, even after the recent patch nerfed her best ability. But yeah, she's still overpowered if you have the right Pictos on. So we'll talk about Pictos. So Pictos are a thing where when you pick them up, you can learn various different I want to say skills, but they're not skills, they're not really abilities either. It's kind of like stuff where it's like, oh, you'll get like shell at the start of a battle, so auto shell, so you get better defense, or it will cast powerful on shell, so powerful boosts your attack. Or if you're playing solo, you do 50% more damage, that sort of stuff. So you get these Pictos that you find everywhere. There's loads for all different manner of combinations and builds that you can do. Once you've had them equipped on a character for 4 turns, you then learn the Pictos, and all of the party can then have them equipped. You then get points that you can put into these Pictos so that you can have them on constantly. having them on constantly, well then obviously you can have the various different builds from there. Just stuff like aiming with free aim does 50% more damage, or it'll mark the enemy, or you can burn the enemy with it, that sort of stuff. So it's really cool that the way that you can have all these various different builds if you want them, or you can put all of your Pictos Lumiere points that you get into one character and then just make them stupidly overpowerful, which is what I did. So it was Pictos. Each character has their own skill tree for various different skills. As I said, they all feel very different. So there's quite a lot going on with like the character builds side of things as well. So you can end up doing ridiculous amounts of damage. As I said, one of the characters ends up being incredibly overpowered. Even now after the patch, the most damage I did in one fight was 94 million, I think. So yeah, some people have said that it goes up to like 120 million. So yeah, incredibly overpowered. It kills everything off in one shot. Like even the super boss. So yeah, there's plenty of different areas as well that you can go and travel to. There's various different collectibles that you can pick up along the way, journals from the various other expeditions that have happened. So you're obviously Expedition 33, and the idea is that you need to go and defeat the Paintress before a year has passed, and she paints a new number on the monolith, basically killing off anybody that's 33 years of age or whatever, 32 years of age. So yeah, the story's really cool. What else? Oh yeah, there's like little mini games as well. Not too many, like quite a few RPGs tends to do, where it's like there's not really much of a balance between side quests and mini games. Some of them have too many, some of them don't have enough. Clair Obscur seems to have like a good balance. There's 5 gestural beaches that you can go to that have very different mini games to them, and then there's like a couple of different side quests that you can do. There was like friendly Nevrons that you can find. There's a couple of like various super bosses and stuff, and obviously there's the journals, the records, there's the mana as well that you can find. There's chromatic Nevrons, which are more powerful versions of other Nevrons. There's like 1 per map that are incredibly more powerful than any of the other Nevrons. So you can kind of go about defeating them as well. It's not all good. There is some things that I did not like about Clair Obscur. So the first one was the platforming. It's very obviously not a platformer. It's an RPG. So any section where there is platforming that needs to be done, it is a little bit janky. As I said, it's not a platformer. So when you're doing one of the gestural beaches where you've got to do a lot of platforming, it's kind of like difficult in the sense that it's not meant for that. I don't know whether that's like meant to be a thing. It's meant to be difficult on purpose, or it's just they tried to put something in the game that it wasn't. Which does sometimes happen. Sometimes you do have games where they will put mechanics into a game where it's just like not really needed. So there was that. There was some areas where it was overly dark and made it difficult to actually see in like caves and stuff, so it could have done with a little bit more something to make it a little bit brighter for some caves. There was one in particular where I had to turn up the brightness just to be able to see where I was going, which is another thing with like And I've seen this conversation online as well. The lack of a mini map or a map of any sort. I get why there's not a mini map, because the idea is that you're going off into the unknown. Like that nobody knows what the lands are like outside of Lumiere. So that's why there's not a map, because your characters wouldn't have a map. But at the same time, the explorer in me wanted a mini map so that I could see whether I've missed just like little areas of the map where I'm like, is this the right way or is this the right way? Because I tend to want to explore. I tend to want to go the wrong way first so that I can like find everything and experience everything that the game has to offer. But it doesn't have that, and it makes sense narratively not to have a mini map. But at the same time, I kind of wanted one. But yeah, that's like Clair Obscur in a nutshell. I really enjoyed playing it. I had a lot of fun going through the game and playing the whole game like all the way through. It's a great story. I played back through on New Game Plus as well. As I said, one of the characters is completely and totally, utterly overpowered. Mini nuke, as people are calling it, but yeah. I highly recommend this game. I did buy a physical version. It is available on Xbox Game Pass as well, and obviously it's on PS5, PC. But yeah, I tend to play on Xbox, as you'll see, and I did buy a physical version because I wanted. I'm trying to build up a library of RPGs from the Xbox physical, and so I picked up the physical version. So let's talk about the achievements. Okay, so the achievements. Embark on the expedition. That is story related, so we don't really need to go into detail with that one. Break an enemy. There is a break bar underneath the enemy, which when it fills up, it will then stun the enemy. It at least stuns them for one turn. Kind of helps, kind of doesn't help. They basically just miss a turn if they get stunned. If they're stunned for long enough that you can attack them, you can do more damage to them. And there are various different skills that you can get. Like, there's one where it's like 100% crit on stun. So yeah, there is like various different builds that you can have around breaking enemies as well. Overcharge. With Gustav, use a fully charged overcharge that breaks an enemy. So with this, Gustav has a skill called Overcharge. Using various different skills will build up the overcharge gauge to 10. Using the fully charged overcharge, you have to hit the enemy, and if you manage to break them, you'll get the achievement. It's fairly straightforward, that one. Find your way through the Spring Meadows. That's story related. Break a paint cage. So occasionally you will find on the map that there is a little cage with an item inside, and there'll be 3 other smaller cages like in the area, sort of up on the walls and stuff like that. You have to shoot them. If you break all 3 of the other cages, it will open up the big cage and you'll get a rarer item. That tended to be stuff like upgrade sweet potions and stuff like that. Synergy. With Mael, use per se on a marked enemy while in virtuous stance. I have an achievement guide for this on my channel. There is another video on how to get this nice and easy. Basically, if you burn an enemy, there is a skill that swaps you into virtuous stance, and then you can use the marked ability on Gustav or Verso, and then use per se, and you'll get the achievement. But I've got a better video of me doing that on the channel anyway, if you want to check that out. Find your way through flying waters is a story related achievement. Upgrade a weapon once. So your weapons can be upgraded. You'll get various different upgrade materials throughout the game. You'll eventually unlock a character in the camp where they will allow you to upgrade your weapons as you progress through the story. You just basically need to upgrade a weapon. Consume a Lumina point, so you'll get Lumina points. These are used to equip Pictos. You get you can't miss them. You get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds over the game. So, witness an optional scene at camp. Just talk to everyone, and you'll eventually get this. Whenever you're in a camp scene, just talk to people. You'll get that. Find the way through Ancient Sanctuary is story related. Find your way through the Gestural Village is story related. Unlock Esky is story related. It's part of the next one, which is find your way through Esky's nest. With Luna, consume stains 4 turns in a row. There are various different builds that you can do for this, where she will use various different magics and stuff. You just kind of need to make sure you're using the right ones. With Sael, consume 20 Foretell on a single target during Twilight. Again, I have a guide for this on my channel. If you want to find out more about that one, go and check out that video. Find your way through the Stonewave Cliffs. That is story related. Reverso reach rank S. This is incredibly easy. With the skill Perfect Break, if you break a target, it will then automatically give Verso an S rank. Find your way through the Forgotten Battlefield is story related. Unlock all the playable characters. The last one that you get is Monaco, which you get by finding your way through Monaco Station. Find your way through Old Lumiere. Reach level 33. Defeat the first Axon is story related, and the second Axon is story related. Reach the Monolith is story related. With Monaco, cast an upgraded skill 4 turns in a row. What I recommend doing is having Monaco in your party as soon as you get him, so that he's learning skills constantly, and then put in a good selection of skills on that are that cost a low amount of points. There's a couple that cost like 2 or 3 points, building up to 9 AP points, and then just using them all on like a boss or something. Defeat the Paintress is story related. Return to Lumiere is story related. Defeat a boss without taking any damage. I did this later on. You can very easily do it at any boss at any time, just by dodging or parrying if you're good at parry. I do recommend parrying over dodging. I was dodging through most of the game, and then when I realised that parrying was actually better for me, I swapped to doing parrying. There are fights that you can have on the world map, on the continent, which will also unlock this. Coming back and doing them later on is fine. Obviously, you'll end up doing like insane amounts of damage anyway. If the enemy doesn't get an attack, then it can't do any damage. Relationship level 7 with Sael. So the relationship level achievements are all done in the camp. You can continuously just talk to each character when you're out in the camp, and if there are like levels built up, then you can just like keep talking to them, and then eventually you'll unlock the next level. I believe they're related to like story progression anyway, but in the way that you won't be able to go from like 1 to 2 until the next part of the story. But once you get to the final act, you can just literally just talk to them in the camp, and it'll do several levels over talking to them several times. Discover all of Esky's abilities. A lot of these will unlock through story progression. There is one that unlocks from his relationship level, which is relationship level 6, if I remember correctly. You have to do a fight to get it, but yeah, it's just talking to Esky and getting this relationship up to level 7. Use a level 3 gradient attack. The gradient attacks are unlocked by reaching relationship levels. So I think it's relationship level 3 unlocks level 2 gradient attack, and then relationship level 7 will unlock the level 3 gradient attack. It's based on whichever character you're talking to. So if you get the relationship level up with Monoko, that will unlock his level 2 and level 3 gradient attack. Eski, if you get his up, it unlocks them for Verso. Reach level 66. Relationship level 7 with Mael and Lune. Find all the lost gestrels. So one of the side quests you can do is there are lost gestrels on the map that you have to find. There are 7 of them, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Find all 7 of them on the map and talk to the guy in your camp, and you will unlock this achievement. There are guides out there for this one as well. I've not done one, but there are other guides. Win all the gestural games. There are 5 of them. You won't be able to get the last one until you get the fly ability with Eski later on in the game. Beat Sprung. Sprung is an enemy on the map, which is a high level boss. He's on the left side of the map, or the northeast sector. Finish all of the Neveron quests. So as I said earlier, there are friendly Neverons that you can find during the game. They will ask you to help them in some way by finding an item that is on that particular map. Go back to them, give them the item, and they will thank you for finding the item. You can then kill them, and that will affect what happens with the last Neveron. They give different items depending on whether you kill them or not, and then if you fight the last Neveron, she will give you a different item depending on whether you saved all the Neverons or whether you killed any of them. Serpenfare is another high level boss that is on the world map. Fully upgraded the weapon. Funnily enough, the final level of each weapon is level 33. Not much of a surprise there, with it being Expedition 33. Solve the painting workshop's mysteries. So there are various different places that you can go to on the world map which take you to the painting workshop. There is a small puzzle that you need to do in 3 of the areas. Once you've done the 3 areas, you then fight a boss, which then unlocks a 4th area that you can go to, where you will then finish off the little quest line. Acquire all of Monoko's skills. So Monoko gets his skills in the same way that a blue mage would in Final Fantasy. Fighting various different enemies will give him their feet, and then this allows him to learn their skills. Reach the top of the Endless Tower. The Endless Tower is a side quest area where you can do a variety of different fights. There are in total 33 fights. There are 11 floors, and there are 3 fights per floor. These get incredibly difficult towards the end as well. It's a good place to kind of build your experience points up before you go to the really high level areas. But you can only get experience once per fight. Beat the Chromatic Petanque. The Chromatic Petanque is on the world map. It's on the east side of the world map. Beat Clair, or Clair. She is another one of the... She's a very much higher level boss again. She's one of the... I think she's like the 2nd highest level boss to fight. Difficult fight, that one. You need to be very, very good at parrying to be able to defeat Clay. Reach level 99. Level 99 is the highest level in the game. There is an area called Renoir's Drafts, which is the best area to get experience points. There are 2 fights towards the end of Renoir's Drafts that are right near to a camp point, which get you anywhere between 1.4 and 3 million XP. Beat Simon. Simon is the super boss for the game. He's incredibly difficult. The only way that I was able to defeat him was using Mael, who is incredibly powerful with the right Pictos on. Reach the end. Obviously, that is story related. That is finishing the story. Find all 33 music records. You get the last music records for defeating the final boss. You can find all other 32 music records during the game anyway. Defeat the mime in Lumiere. I completely missed this the first time through. Didn't know he was there. I got the game like a day early, so there was no guides or anything for the game by that point. So I had no idea that the mime was even there. I didn't look at the achievements or anything. And last achievement I got was find all the journals from prior expeditions. This is the only achievement in the game that is missable. Every other achievement is possible to get. But this particular one, if you miss getting the old key in the prologue, which you need to trade a token for, if you miss getting that, you cannot get all of the journals, unfortunately. My first playthrough, obviously I had no idea that this old key existed, and I had to do a new game plus, which meant defeating the super boss on harder difficulty. Normally the super boss has 50 million experience points in his second form. He has 100 million HP in his second form for New Game Plus. I was just able to defeat him with Mael, fortunately. But yeah, finding all the journals from prior expeditions was my last achievement that I unlocked, which that is Clair Obscur Expedition 33 completed. As I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I highly recommend it to anybody that likes RPGs in any way, shape or form, or is interested in a good story. The story is really well written, and the characters are really well written. The music is incredible. It was a bit loud occasionally, but I think that's just personal stuff for me. You can obviously turn it down. But yeah, the music for every area is always different. So yeah, it's just such an incredible game. If there's not like another game like this by the end of the year, then this will definitely end up being my game of the year personally. I don't see at the moment anything else that's going to come out that's going to beat this. So yeah. As always, don't forget, if you did get to the end of this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.